Good morning, everyone. My talk is going to be like fully English, so I guess that's fine with most of you, if not everyone. Okay, before I start my talk, I have some questions. Okay. So, how many of you are attending for the first time the PHP developers meetup? Like 20-30% of them. Okay, good. How many of you are students? You're not? Okay, anyways, so something like 20-30%. So I assume the rest of you are like working in a company. Among the ones working in a company, how many of you have more than 5 years of experience working? Okay. And how many of you have never heard of Git or any other version control system? Never heard. Okay, so I'm safe. Only one guy. Very good. And how many of you have been using Git for the past 3 years or more? Okay, good. Good. So this is going to be an interesting talk to you guys as well. Okay, if I ask a question like, how many of you think if Git adds overhead or value to your work? How many of you would say it adds value? Okay, so that makes sense. I talked about it. Okay. I was gonna do something, but I'm not sure because the house is almost full. How many of you are sitting together with people you know or like your friends? Oh, you're almost there. Okay, let's see if I get time. I will do something towards the end. If everyone agrees, the price for it are like some stickers. But let's see if I can really do it. I guess everyone has a phone, so it shouldn't be that difficult for me to do it. Okay, let's really get started with doing video code and how to follow simplified Gitflow. I am, as most of you know by now, Geshin Manzar, currently serving in Namshi as the quality maintenance lead, aka was also a senior software engineer. Yeah, I'd like to call myself as a tech solution provider rather than a program on XYZ. I like following Agile, and I'm a conditional microservices believer these days because we're doing lots of microservices, but I don't think microservices fits all the use cases. And then those are my social URLs. One of them is the Twitter account, and the other one is my blog. So what is this talk going to be about? I'm going to basically walk you through how to do Gitflow. I have some assumptions before going through that. And I have a small demo. Hopefully, if the internet allows me to do it, I'll do the whole flow. I'll just try to do what I can. And later I have like a recap. So, in 2016, who was not using Git? Who was using SVN or CVS or some other old type of version control system? Okay, I see 2-3 hands up. Still using SVN. Okay, that's a distributed version control. Okay, what are you using?
What was?
Sorry?
What was?
Okay, I have never heard of it. But is it a distributed one or a centralized one like SVN?
It's a distributed one.
Okay, as long as it's distributed, probably you have some advantages that it has. So the main thing here is you should use the right tool for the right job. In 2016, if you are still using CVS or SVN, you are trying to do something like this, hammer a nail with a cup. So I don't know if the nail is going to be on the wall, but the cup is surely going to break. So it's high time you use something like it. And yes, if you just look at Google Trends, Git is super popular. The one that's climbing up all the way is Git. Yeah, I almost forgot the first question that I was going to ask. What is the same software between Microsoft, LinkedIn, Netflix, and Facebook? Yeah, the answer is obvious now, Git. So I mean, Git is really, really powerful, popular, and useful. I did a survey last year, I think, April, May, and even within Nepali developers, I found Git to be the most used and most popular PCS. So by this time, you should be using Git. Now, just using Git is not the big thing. I mean, even Facebook uses Git. So how they utilize and exploit Git, probably we are not. So my first question about using Git is, does everyone in your team push to master? How many of you are here where everyone in the team blindly pushes to master? No one, really? Okay, 2, 3, any more? Be open. Be truthful, honest. I need honest answers. Does everyone in your team push to master? Okay, only 5 people. So probably I can stop this talk here, but still I'll carry on. If everyone pushes to master, this is the situation you get into, by the way. People who raise their hands, be prepared for this, because you're generally going to fall into the trap, and the trap is called conflict. You're going to face lots of conflicts when everyone pushes to the same branch. So how do we get out of this problem? That's one thing. And the other thing is, your Git commits should always tell a story. This talk is moreover how do you structure your commits, or how do you really open pull requests and deployments and on those lines. So prerequisites, I think everyone meets these prerequisites. I don't think anyone here doesn't meet these prerequisites. So yeah, basically you know about Git and you know the basic Git commands. And one thing about Simplified Gitflow or Gitflow is master is always a stable branch that can be deployed anytime in the project. So let's start the Simplified Gitflow. Step 1. You are given a task, so you are going to start that task. Generally, we follow a ticket-based system. How many of you have a project management system or a ticket-based system at work? Almost everyone. Maybe Trello, Redmine, Jira, whatever. So basically, you are given a feature or a bug to work on. Then you start with getting a new branch. You follow the proper naming convention. You get the branch out of master. For this example that I'm going to show later, I'm going to use an open source project. It's called Hookah, which is a smoke tasting framework. So basically, you have a ticket that says do X. For example, update one file or update one line in the README. You start by taking out a new branch called HK16, following your branch naming convention, and from the latest master. For this, you do a command like this. Probably it's very clear and on top of your head of everyone. And yeah, that's the first thing you do. So a ticket is assigned to you, you pick that ticket, you take a branch out of master. And then you start working on it, obviously. So for this example, I'm just giving an example of changing a file, a line in the README. Then what happens? You code it, your task is done. And now you have finished working on it. Then you have to add your changes, put it into the intermediate Git stash or something what it's called. And if you have deleted files, you delete the files out, then you commit. Yeah, and be sure to give meaningful commit messages. I have seen very long, even and like very short change, fix. I never like those kinds of commit messages, so try making your commit messages meaningful. And yes, you could do multiple logical commits for the same task, but generally good to squash your commits into one before opening a pull request or merge request. And then yes, use this pusher branch. Now what happens? The code is pushed. I don't know who follows what kind of a workflow here, but I really recommend a pull request workflow where someone reviews your code and comments about it. So before you push, you generally would rebase with master. Master has moved ahead from whenever you start to work. But it's always a very good idea to check that your branch is in line or just one or two commits of a master, so that only your commits are to be reviewed by the person who's going to review it. And yeah, after you rebase, you generally have to force push. This is quite common. And yeah, depending upon the software you're using, someone calls it pull request, someone calls it merge request, so then you open a merge request. And even if you are using a project management software, you might need to move it to the right status or comment about it, XYZ. Then what happens? Step 4, your lead or team member, depending upon how you are structured, will have to review your code. If all goes well, it is not merged, because this is not Gitflow. If all goes well, what happens, I'll tell next. But generally, code reviews are done to make obvious bugs or coding conventions. Even coding conventions can even be automated these days, but naming, does it do the right thing, or does it add extra code that's not needed, or is the design, software design, by that I mean software design right or not? Those things are checked by generally a superior or even a team member. So that's a code review process. And then if all tests are passing, what you do is you deploy. So this is not the full Gitflow where you have 3 perpetual branches running. Simplified Gitflow has just 1 perpetual branch running, and that's called master. So whenever your pull request is approved, you deploy it to staging or production. So then you deploy it to staging, follow your workflow, and then to production. Generally, when you deploy to production, I fully recommend creating a tag, because tag is like a pointer to a commit, so you know when you deploy, how you deploy. And if you are thinking, why have I named the tag 1.6/25, that would generally mean the first year of operation for that project, 6 is for June, and 25 is the date. So that's how I generally name my tags. You could follow your own convention. But that's the way I or we name tags. You could have your own convention. You could do, if you have like 3 deployments in a day, it would be P0, P1, P2, so second, third, fourth deployment of the day. Or like you could do anything you want. You could do 1 for 3, that would be the first year of operation, for the 4th week of 2016, which is not right now. And maybe the 3rd deployment of the week. I mean, that's just a convention that you can build on your own. So yeah, it's all about a convention. Someone would name RC for release candidate. I would generally go for P0, which is batch 1, batch 2, batch 3. So then your code is deployed. And we test everything out. If everything is fine, then you happen to merge the tag to master, because that's it. Master is the only perpetual branch available in Simplified Gitflow. And after you merge the tag, given that your commits are squashed and your pull request is open correctly, generally, even on GitLab and GitHub, those I can like attest because I'm using those, we close your PR automatically. And then it's the same process, you start again, you take another branch. Same thing for P0 and P1, P2. What does it mean? It means that that's the next deployment of the day. Okay, here if you see I do a merge dash noFF. Why do I need to do a noFF? The reason is simple. As I said, your commits tell a story. So you want to tell a story better. You want to see that, okay, I came out master, I did these changes, and then it again went back to master. The technical details are on the slides. So you could see that if you do a dash noFF, that's how your tree looks. If you don't do a dash FF, your tree looks flat. So, okay, most of you said that no one is pushing to master. How many of you are using the Gitflow, where you have 3 perpetual branches, develop, release, and master? How many of you are using Gitflow? Only one hand. I see only one hand. 2 hands, 3, 4. So you guys are really using the full Gitflow.
It's a bit different from yours though.
No. I explained the simplified Gitflow. The full Gitflow is the one which NVIEV or something. I forgot the guy's name. The guy who really wrote the first one. Basically, where you have 3 perpetual branches: develop, release, and master. So, if only 5 guys are using Gitflow, and all of you are not pushing to master, how are you managing your code? Anyone? Like almost 80-90% of the people said we are not pushing to master. I think only 5 people were saying they push to master. And if you're not using Gitflow, then how are you managing your pull requests? Anyone wants to volunteer? Okay, let's come back to it later. So Gitflow, as I said, has 3 perpetual branches. The problem there, I think the guys who are using it know that the complexity is high. Generally, release is whatever goes all to staging. If everything is fine, then you merge release into master. Master is gone to develop. Everyone works from a branch out of develop. We used to do that, but after using the simplified Gitflow, we stopped doing it. Why? Because of these reasons. The complexity is lower, 1. 2, I can test what I want because it's an atomic deployment. Only one ticket goes to staging or live at a time, and it is very, very easy to test because ticket 2 is not affecting ticket 1. So there is no cross problems being originated. That's why I am kind of a preacher of simplified Gitflow. So this is the basic difference between the full Gitflow and the simplified Gitflow. Demo time. So for this particular demo, I'm going to use an open source project, as I already said. The project is called Hookah. I don't know how many of you know or use it. So I've already created a test issue. For now, let's assume that our project manager system is GitHub itself. So the test issue number 16 says, okay, make a small change in README. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm on Hookah right now. This is the current master. So as I said, in simplified Gitflow, there's only going to be one perpetual branch, which is master. This is a shortcut for git checkout -p for me. So because I have to type with one hand, so I'm just using my shortcuts. So this is HK. As I said, always follow a branch naming convention. As I'm using Hookah, so for that I'm just giving a code for the project called HK, and 16 is same as this because I'm following the 16th issue. That's just a number. So I'm already on that, and the ticket says, okay, just make a small change in the README file. Fine, I can do that. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay. So I can do a quick change. Oh, what's this? I'm going to leave this later, but let me just like. So now if I do a git status, it's going to show me that my README file has changed, obviously. Generally, I do a git diff to check whatever I'm pushing is whatever I intend to push. Because generally, you intend to do git add dot and push, and then you realize, oh man, we have to push this. Well, generally, I always follow this way of checking it. Let me add my files and commit push. If you haven't explored git add -p, I would recommend to check that, and that's also in the slides. The slides are already online, so you don't need to take notes or anything. You can just get it, and probably it will be there on my blog by tomorrow. That's it. The same thing, like try to make your commit messages meaningful. Generally, I follow this format for GitHub because it gives you a checkbox. Okay, so I have done the commit. Now I can hopefully push it. That's the same thing. Like I had a very, very small ticket, maybe adding an asterisk saying, okay, this is a required field, and I'm done with the task. So now I'm going to push it. So yeah, I've already pushed it and it's asking me to, if do you want to create a pull request? Yes, I want to create a pull request. Nice, you can get my commit message clearly, but this is what I want to show you. This comes out as a checkbox. Okay, so nothing found here. I'm just opening pull request. Hopefully the tests are breaking, while only the stats here is breaking, the test should be passing. And as you can see, the diff is not big. So my team lead, assuming this is a private project, my team lead does not comment anything and says, yes, go ahead. Okay, so this means now this pull request is accepted. So generally, the other Gitflow, you would merge it to release, I guess, and then try to have multiple tickets merged to release and then try to deploy it. But let's say I am using Capistrano or something and I have deployed the project, that particular ticket. I deployed it and then I tested it on my staging and then I also deployed it on production and everything was fine. And to deploy it in production, I first need a tag, because as I said, you first need a tag to deploy in production. To deploy at staging, you could go on with your brand. So let me create a tag first. Basically, this is meaning that I deployed my HK16 on staging, everything worked fine. Let's say it was a very small task of adding an asterisk to say that the form element was required. I deployed and I tested on staging, and then it was fine. Now it's time for me to deploy it to production, so I just made a tag, 1625 as I just explained, 1 for the number of years of operation, 6 for June, and 25 to 25th of June. So I'm pushing the tag now. Tag is, as I already mentioned, nothing fancy but like a pointer to a comment. It's just like a name that you're giving to a comment, and later if you want to reference, let's say, coming back after 6 months, you want to check how many times did I really deploy to production. Then you can count all the tags and then you know, okay, I deployed X many times to production in the past 6 months. So let's assume that now the tag has been made and I went to production, I tested it on production as well, and everything is fine. So that means now I need to merge the tag. So this is not the right place to merge the tag. No one pointed me because I should be merging the tag to master. Hopefully I have the test master, and because I am the only one working on it right now, I am 100% sure that the master hasn't moved ahead. If master had moved ahead, I had to get the latest master, release my branch with master, and then only do another pull request or even merge the tag. Even to merge the tag, I always check what's deployed on production. If the tag is not been merged to master, I first have to merge it to master, rebase, and then only deploy myself. Because I don't want to do someone else's changes. Never force push to master. Rule number 0. So, as I said, if you follow the simplified Gitflow, your pull requests are going to be close automatically. So if everything goes fine, fingers crossed, the pull request at the back should be merged. And I love the internet. Very good. The push has been done. So hopefully this pull request is merged. No. Why not? No, it is merged. Magic. Merged automatically. So if I go to the pull request, close pull request, I can see that the pull request is merged. So this is basically how the Simplified Gitflow functions. I just showed you a full life cycle with a demo ticket. So this is how basically the Simplified Gitflow, also known as GitHub flow, works, because there's only one perpetual branch, and it's a lot simpler than Gitflow. Let me go back to the doc. I would take questions at the end, so if you have questions, keep them with you for now. Okay, let's get back. So what are the things to consider when you are using Simplified Gitflow? 1, rule number 0. Never push to master, because you're going to break your things as well as anyone who's putting in master, you're going to break their stuff. Rule number 2, you can force push to a branch, but be sure that no one else is working on it. If 2 guys are working on the same branch, always have communication and sync. Yes, I get this question a lot when we talk about Simplified Gitflow. What happens to dependent tickets? So if you have a dependent ticket, you could branch out from whatever the ticket is on staging right now, and then you send a pull request to that branch and not to master, and that pull request at the end eventually goes and gets merged into master. And yes, always align your branch with master, because master is the only perpetual branch. And the same thing can be done for out fixes, because there's just master. Master is always deployable, always stable. So in case you need an out fix, you don't merge your tag to master, you deploy master, you make a fix, you make another tag, and then probably deploy the next tag which has the fix. So a very simple recap, the 6 steps. You start working, you finish coding, you push, then you deploy, then the lead reviews your code, and if everything is fine, you deploy it to staging and to production with a tag. Then you merge a tag, and that's like a life cycle of that particular issue or that ticket. And step number 7, you all know you all have workforces, and then you take another ticket. Why I'm saying this is also because you don't do like 3 tickets at a time, because that is context switching, that costs a lot of time, a lot of attention to you, and you become slower. You generally don't do multitasking. To conclude, Simplified Gitflow is a lot easier than Gitflow, and what it looks from outside as well. You only deploy single tickets at a time. Those are atomic deployments, easier to test, and easier to predict as well. Same thing for rollbacks. Something breaks, blindly deploy master, and everything is fine again. If you have any questions, let me know. If you are looking for a job change, hit that URL, and all these slides is that URL. If you want, you can take a note of that URL, and later you have the whole slide